songs, let me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc, where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
You have to have staff that are not afraid to go and ask.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all of us here that work, we're not afraid to go ask, because we know the worst thing that's going to happen is people are going to say no. If you don't ask, you're never going to get anything. So you do have to start by asking. That's the biggest thing. It's about being a people person and about, like I said, getting out there and actually meeting people, explaining to them what you're doing, how this can benefit them.
All right, we are live again. This is Craig LeBlanc with the Daily Parks and Rec Show. This is our leadership series, 12 noon, Monday through Friday now. We extended the leadership series out to Friday, thanks to the help from Papa J. Jonathan Skinner out from California is now helping me extend our programming for the leadership series. But let me also talk about the other shows that we now have a full 1:30 time slot, and we're actually starting to build the 3 p.m. time slot. So as we, strive to build that 24/7 network, we're just adding shows and show hosts and lots of great stuff coming. So we got 3 new shows coming in at the 3 p.m. slot. But let's go ahead and go through our 1:30 time slot. On Mondays, on the second and fourth Mondays, we have a show with host Dave Ramirez about technology and infrastructure and smart cities, and it's called the Smart Parks Forward. He has a lot of great stuff going on that show. And then on Tuesdays at 1:30, we have every week Jonathan Prue hosts On the Front Line, the Military Rec Show. So if you're in the military, on a base, recreating, all those professionals that are in uniform are running the Parks and Rec department on military bases. And that's kind of all that we talk about on our Tuesday show. That brings us to Wednesday. Immediately following this show, we have Safe Spaces with our host, Thomas White, talking about mental health and the role that Parks and Rec plays in that. And then on next Wednesday, we do the Rec Room. That's a once a month show with Henry County, Georgia, where they pick a topic in Parks and Rec and bring in all the stakeholders, whether it's a festival or special event or accounting, you name it, and they pick a topic and they just go deep on it with all the people online so that you can see how a well-run department handles all the different parts of Parks and Rec. Then that brings us to our oldest running show. Thursday is the Youth Sports Mastery Show with host Aaron Locks. And if you're in rec sports, or if you're an athletic director or a coach or just running programs for rec sports, that's definitely the show for you. And they're really focused on how rec sports serves the entire community, not just the gifted athletes, but everyone, and how important that is to early childhood development and the leadership skills, life skills rather, that you kind of pick up when involved in youth sports. And then on Thursday evenings, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, we run the Young Professionals Network. For those young professionals that are new to this industry and trying to drink from thin fire hoses at the same time, that's definitely the show for you. You're not alone. A lot of great young professionals coming up as leaders. I think we're in great hands listening and getting to know a lot of these young professionals. The industry's going to be safe. We've got some all-stars coming up through the ranks. And then Friday is our newest show, the Aquatics Life. I think we're running like 2 months now with them. If you're in aquatics director or pool manager, I promise you're going to get something out of the 8 shows we've produced so far. You can go watch any of them and you're going to get something out of it. Even if aquatics directors want to make it part of their continuing education for their staff, Wesley really does drop a lot of knowledge about aquatics on his show. And so that kind of brings us back to today's show. Today we have a special guest, Jerome Krieger from Blaine, Minnesota, the great state of Minnesota. I have to make it up there to Minnesota to y'all's state convention. I've heard nothing but great things. So we got to get them in the pipeline so that I can see how they do Parks and Rec up in the great state of Minnesota. But before we get started, let's go ahead and play our newest transition video. And so it's like a little 60-second that ties in all the shows and personalities and show times, as we're now one big happy family of Parks and Rec professionals that are creating content for this industry, immediately followed by the 500th episode. Thank you for everyone getting us above that 500 video mark. So Carlo, why don't you go ahead and play those two? And when we come back, we'll start our conversation with Jerome.
It didn't start with a big studio. It didn't start with a massive audience. It started with a simple idea. One conversation, one camera, one episode. Back then, DPRS Media Network was just a vision. No guarantees, no roadmap, just a purpose. To tell stories that mattered. Stories from the Parks and Recreation community. Stories of leadership, passion, impact, and the people making a difference every single day. Episode by episode, that vision began to grow. More conversations, more voices, more people who believed in what we were building. What started as a show became something much bigger. A place where people felt seen, a place where ideas were shared, a place where the Parks and Rec community could connect, learn, and inspire one another. And today, we celebrate a major milestone. 500 episodes, 500 stories, 500 moments, 500 reasons to keep moving forward. But this is not the finish line. This is the beginning of our next chapter. In the months ahead and in the years to come, DPRS Media Network is growing into something even greater. We are building something truly special for the Parks and Recreation community. Something designed to bring people closer, to create stronger connections, to open new opportunities, and to continue serving the people who inspire everything we do. We are also expanding our reach through new partnerships, working with organizations who believe in our mission, partners who share our vision for community, leadership, and impact. And beyond the screen, we're showing up in more places than ever before, attending conferences, meeting leaders face-to-face, building connections that strengthen our community. Because DPRS has never been just about content. It has always been about connection. To everyone who has been with us, from episode 1 to episode 500, thank you. This milestone belongs to all of you. Here's to how it all started. And here's to everything still to come. The future of DPRS Media Network starts now.
All right. Welcome to the show, Jerome. How's your week going so far?
Not too bad. Thank you, Craig. Thanks for having me. It's Wednesday, so it's unfortunately we have still the cold weather up here. It's only like 40 degrees today.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, for May, that's not, we're like 20 some degrees below normal, so that's not nice. So
yeah, if it were 40 in New Orleans, we would shut the city down. Like, no work, go home. School's canceled. Why don't you tell us a little, kind of introduce yourself to the Parks and Rec community of America, and tell us a little bit about how you got into Parks and Recreation. Were you kind of involved as a child, or did you kind of discover this later in life?
Yeah, so actually I've been in the profession for 38 years now.
Wow.
And I've been here in Blaine 19, and I was in St. Paul, Minnesota for 19 before that. I grew up in St. Paul. I grew up in an area where I lived right across the street from a community rec center.
Hmm.
So the parents bought a house when I was in like first grade, right across the street from a rec center, and I basically lived there. I mean, it was I went there for sports. I went there for all kinds of other things. All my friends in the neighborhood, we all kind of hung out there, met all kinds of kids. And then as I got older, and actually I was old enough to start seeing if I could work there. Um, all the jobs back then were civil service, so you actually had to take a test. So they actually hired me on when I was about 18 temporarily, and then as a recreation leader, and then from there I had to take a test and pass that. And then, like I said, spent 19 years in St. Paul working in athletics, managing a dome facility, working in all different areas of the city. Some areas that were more affluent, and some areas that were, poverty, a lot of assistance and that. So I got a great background and a great area to learn how to deal with all different types of residents and all kinds of things going on. So, like I
Yeah.
said, I spent 19 years there, and there was a lot of talk about more with less back in the day, and I was at that point in my career where if I don't leave, I'll never leave. I'll stay there forever. And
Yeah.
there was a job in Blaine that fit everything pretty much I was doing, and took that job because the person that had that job moved up to be the director. They
Mm.
knew they were kind of on a 5-year plan to become or be the director and then retire, and then just kind of worked my way up, and I've been the director here now for about the last 5 years. So
Wow.
yeah, so a lot of experience working with our state board too, our MRPA, which is our Minnesota Recreation and Park Association. I was the president of that. We have a recreation sports commission too here in Minnesota. I was the chair of that. So been pretty involved with a lot of our park and rec stuff throughout the state. And your comment about coming to Minnesota, we'd love to have you come to the
Yes.
convention. We have one every year, right? Either right before or right after the national convention. So yeah, we definitely love to have you come up to Minnesota, Craig.
Absolutely. And so I'd like you to kind of reflect back to when you were young, before you came in the industry full time. As a young person, what were some of the things that kind of attracted you, that even kind of caught your attention, that you may want to spend your life here?
Yeah, I think, actually seeing the people that actually did the work, I mean, the people
Mm.
that worked at the recreation centers, the people that created the programs, they did all that. It was kind of like, hey, what a cool job. But I really didn't know a lot about recreation as the professionals or a professional way of doing that back then. So I kind of went the education route. I actually have my degree in physical education because I didn't know that really recreation was an actual field that you could go to college for. So yes, hand in hand, they do a lot of the same similar things. So I got my degree in physical education, but basically it tied in perfectly with all the different things that I was doing in my younger career, doing programs and all the athletics and everything else. So I looked up to those people. I mean, I spent a lot of time at the recreation center with them. I thought it was a cool profession, and how much fun it would be to work a job where you put smiles on kids and families' faces. You do special events, field trips, all the programming. I mean, so yeah, I really looked up to them and saw those individuals as role models, and it wasn't long after that once I got in the profession, that some of those people that used to work at the rec center when I was a kid were still working when I was a professional in the system with them. So I looked up to them and went to them for any advice and anything to help me along the way. So that was a really cool transition of being a kid at a place where they were working, but later in my life, as I got into my 20s and that, they were still working.
Mhm.
We were colleagues and working together. So that was a really cool thing.
Yeah. And as you kinda got into your first, or what was your first full-time position? Were you like a program director or not?
Yeah, So in St. Paul, it was called the recreation leader. So
Mhm.
basically, a lot of my job back then in the 80s was to play with the kids. I mean, do programs and keep the kids active. So even if the kids just did a drop in and came to the rec center that day, go do something with them. Whether we went outside and played wiffle ball, we played hockey, we played football. I mean, I would just kind of take the kids that just showed up and like, hey, let's not just sit around, let's go out and do something. So I'd grab some balls or whatever, we'd go out and do some activity, and I'd keep them busy for a while. So that was kind of my job, was keep the kids busy, keep them active, make sure they're getting exercise, and then come in afterwards and sit around with them, chit
Yeah.
chat, and basically socialize with them. So it was, like I said, the rec center wasn't just a formal place for people that they had to come and sign up for everything. They could just come up and just partake in any activity that we had going on, or we just start one for them. So
Yeah. So imagine you're kind of mentoring a young professional just coming out of college into your industry that's in charge of making sure the kids are active and have fun. What's some of the hacks and tricks and roadmaps that you kind of learned that you would share with him?
yeah, even something that you think that no, they're not going to want to do this, try it. Try anything and everything, because you don't know. I mean, like I said, I used to do a wiffle ball tournament back in the day with the kids, and basically we would have a tournament and we would play for like a 2-liter bottle of pop, or we would have like some snacks or whatever. And I've still talked to kids now that are adults that still remember that back, 20 years ago or 25 years ago. I've had people that I've seen that have come up and said, Jerome, I remember back when we played wiffle ball, and I still remember how fun that was and everything else. So you can't be afraid to try anything. I mean, and every kid's different. There's different things that they like and it doesn't have to just be a sport. It can be anything. It can be art, it can be music, it can be dance, it can be anything, just to get them moving and get them involved. So
Mm.
anything and everything's on the table. Don't be afraid to try something. My philosophy's always been, with programming and that, it's like going to a buffet table. You throw out different vegetables. You throw out corn, carrots, you throw out peas. You look to see what they like to eat. If they don't eat the peas, okay, you throw the peas out one more time. And if they don't eat it the second time, you pull the peas and you put something else out.
Yeah.
So, you just because it didn't work the first time doesn't mean it couldn't work the second time. So like I said, it's always about just trying different things and not being the same exact thing constantly. Don't just run the same exact
Mhm.
program over and over and over, because it just gets boring. And just like I said, mix it up. And like I said, sometimes we used to always say back in the day, like a paper program, the program looks really good on paper, but does it really work?
Right.
Okay, it looks like you're offering 30 things, and it looks like you have all this stuff going, but what's really working and what's not working?
Yeah.
So like I said, that's the biggest thing. And I do some mentoring right now, is that don't be afraid to try things. Don't be afraid to take any task that your supervisor or director asks you to go do. If they tell you, hey, you're in charge of portable toilets this year, even though you're like, I don't want to do portable toilets could open up a job for you somewhere down the road, because there's a lot of cities and counties and that rely on portable toilets. So
Yeah.
any experience you can get, take it.
So, did y'all ever have any luck with engaging the teenage group? Because I know that's typically a demographic that's kind of lost in Parks and Rec for a while, but I know there are some successful, thriving teenage programs in other cities. Anything you've tried out there that's worked?
Yeah, I mean, more so back in the day than now. It has been a little bit tougher or whatever. But back in the day, yeah, we used to try to do all kinds of different things with the teens, at the rec center. I mean, we would get them involved in even volunteering. We would work with the little kids. We would try to even make the teens be more, like I said, almost like a mentor to the younger kids. So
Mhm.
we would do a bunch of different activities, or go on field trips and do some of those types of deals. One of the biggest things with the teen was to try to find out what do they want to do? What excites them? What are they interested in? Even looking at job stuff too. I mean, hey, you're thinking you're in that age where you're 13, 14, 15, and sooner or later you're going to be getting a job, or you're in high school, you're going to be looking to go ahead for college, and that what other things would you like to do or like to see? So it was more about exposure and trying to get them to look beyond the next couple of years and try to help them as well. So I mean, we always had open gym and other types of deals to keep them active and do a bunch of things, but we tried to look outside the box a little bit more and look at other things too that could help them to progress from the teenage years into the years of being in high school and beyond. So
Now, let's say you're mentoring a budding young professional that aspires to be a director one day, and there's so many different parts of Parks and Rec that they'll have to master. What are some of the ones that you would recommend that, hey, you really want to dip your toe in aquatics or master planning or facilities maintenance or programming, senior, like where do you kind of start on that journey to try to pick up all that you would need to know to be a director?
Yeah. So right now, when I am mentoring, different individuals, I ask them kind of what are your specialties right now? What things do you want to learn, or what things do you not feel comfortable with, right now? For my 38 years, I never really had to deal with aquatics. So if somebody came to me right now and said, "Hey, you're going to have a pool and everything else," I'd be looking for some help from
Right.
somebody who has a lot of experience in aquatics, because it's probably the one factor that I've never dealt with in my career. But that's the first thing, is trying to see where their comfort level is and where they want to go from there. Another big thing is budget. I mean, the budget is
Mhm.
huge. So starting even at the ground level, even though they're not completely involved with the budget, try to get them involved somehow with the budget to just see how everything works. I think when you see the actual dollars, you see the revenue coming in, you see the expenditures coming out, and what that entails, and how your money is made and how your money is spent, you really get a better feeling for
Mm,
how the rest of it all flows into it. Your programming, your staffing, the whole nine yards. So that's a big one that I would get anybody that's looking to aspire to be a director to start right with the budget, to get
mm,
involved in any of the budget process right away.
mm,
The other ones, yes, the different departments, things you're not familiar with, then go right to the supervisors and the leads of those and ask if you can learn some more about it, see if you can come out and kind of shadow them and see some of the different things. But the more you're involved with all the different departments that entail a whole city or county, the more you're going to learn, and the easier it's going to be to transition from that position of being a supervisor or a lead person into the leader of a department. Because
mm.
once you have those connections and relationships built with everybody, it makes it a lot easier. I mean, I not only have the relationships with all the directors, but I have the managers all the way down to the frontline staff, and it's all the departments. I mean, it's planning, police, engineering, GIS, finance. I mean, you name it, all the way down the line. I'm in contact with all of those individuals who do the work. And so it makes the job a lot easier when you're on the same page
Mm.
with all of them.
Let's talk a little more on that financing side or the financial side of Parks and Rec. Were there any success stories you had around cost recovery, or just finding new little pockets of revenue that you've discovered along the way so that you can just kind of increase the income or increase the efficiency of your departments?
Yeah, I mean, when we look at budget, we're always looking at, hey, what are things that we're busting at the seams, this program or this activity or this rental or whatever. Things are, oh, we're seeing a lot higher. So those, we're always looking kind of supply and demand.
Mhm.
What's the demand and what's our supply? Can we raise prices on that? We do look at grants, and grants are kind of a double-edged sword, because with grants, yes, you can get the money, but there's also a lot of strings that come with it.
Mm,
So you have to weigh out, how much you would have to throw up front and everything else. So, both of those are things. We've done a lot with donations. We've We've donated from some charitable gambling,
Mhm.
charitable gambling associations that make money and have to donate money. So we were able to take advantage of some of that. We run a lot of our special events on donations and sponsorships. So we don't really budget a lot for a lot of our special events. We are able to cover most of the costs with all of that. So that's a
Mm.
huge one for us. We're probably $60,000 or so a year that we have for special events that we don't have to generate a lot of money from. We get
Mm.
donations and sponsorships. So it's back to that connections and back to having that networking with different businesses and organizations where they know that them spending some money on your programs by donating or sponsoring not only helps out what's going on in Park and Rec and in the community, but it helps out their businesses as well.
Mhm.
It's kind of free advertisement for them, and they get a chance to put up a booth and talk about all the great things that they
Mhm.
do as well. So it's the exposure in that. So that's probably been our number one thing is a lot of our special events. So like it covers all of our music in the parks for the summer, a lot of different other special events. We do Bark in the Park. We do a bike rodeo for the kids. We do in the wintertime, we do a winter celebration where we do ice fishing, snowshoeing, all that type of stuff. So we call it snow day. I mean, we have all kinds of stuff throughout the whole year that between sponsorships and donations, we're able to have all these different programs and special
Mm.
events for the community. So
And so what do those phone calls kind of look like when you're tasked to kind of go find local businesses, strategic partners that want to help put on these special events? How does those phone calls go, and what makes a good strategic partner for, a festival or a special event that a Parks and Rec department might
yeah.
offer?
Well, first of all, you have to have good staff, and you have to
Yeah.
have staff that are not afraid to go and ask.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all of us here that work, we're not afraid to go ask because we know the worst thing that's going to happen is people are going to say no. But
Mm.
if you don't ask, you're never going to get anything. So you do have to start by asking, and that doesn't mean just pick up the phone. That might mean drive over there and go into a business or talk to who's in charge and explain what you're doing and see if they want to be involved. And that's the biggest thing. It's about being a people person and about, like I said, getting out there and actually meeting people.
Yeah.
Or if they're reluctant, invite them to the actual event to see what it's about. So when they come to see it and they're like, oh man, yeah, there's a lot of people. There's 300, 500, 600 people that have come to this event. Yeah, this is great exposure for me. Okay, I might have said no this year, but no, I want in next year. So it's kind of just laying the groundwork and getting out and actually talking to the different businesses and organizations that might be interested in sponsoring or donating for your events. And like I said, once they see the product and they see what's going on and see the amount of people that show up, we haven't had an issue with getting sponsorships. In fact, sometimes we get a bunch and we're like, well, we only need this much for this event, but we'll put you on this one. And we have some sponsorships that are doing multiple, 4 or 5 different events throughout the year for us. So it's just a matter of, like I said, getting out and meeting people, introducing yourself, explaining to them what you're doing, how this can benefit them, and get them out there. And yeah, we've seen basically a lot of the people that have come to our events then turn around and are good stewards to their businesses and that.
So how would you recommend a young professional find a mentor, and how would they start the networking to be able to find people that are further along in their journey that just want to kind of learn from them? And then after that, I'd like you to speak about, how you became a mentor.
Yep. So I would start within, basically within your own department. I would go to your supervisor or whatever and say, hey, I would like to have somebody who I can turn to be a mentor. I would like to be a mentee. I have some questions. There's things I want to learn. See if there's anyone, first of all, in your own department or within your own city, county, whatever. Beyond that, our state organization, our Minnesota Recreation and Parks Association, we actually have a mentorship program. So if your state, like I said, association doesn't have one, I would highly encourage them to start a mentorship program. There's enough people in all of Parks and Rec in the whole nation that have a lot of people with experience that can help out all of the younger professionals who are starting out and are gonna have questions. That was the big thing back in St. Paul. I was in that position. I was a young professional, and I'm like, okay, who am I gonna call when I have questions? So going back to the people that used to work at the rec centers that I knew, I would pick up the phone and call them. But then there were also senior directors who basically said, "Hey, Jerome, if you ever have a question, don't be afraid to call me." And I took them up on it. But they kind of laid the groundwork for me and opened the door to say, "Yeah, call me if you need any help." I was that same way when I started to move up the ladder. All the new people that came in, I always said, if you ever have any question, don't be afraid to ask. Don't worry about when it is or what time, just call and ask. I'd rather you call and get help instead of going and making, a bad decision or doing whatever. So, like I said, starting within your own departments. If not, your state association, working on that and getting one going. It's been awesome. I've done it now for the last couple of years. And the great satisfaction of being a mentor is that when you take a young professional and help them, like the first person that I had really struggled kind of with the interviews and getting to that next level, getting a full-time position. They kind of had multiple part-time positions in Park and Rec and really wanted to secure that full-time. So after they would go on interviews, we would talk and have kind of a follow-up of how things went, what we thought went well, what we thought didn't go well. And then it was kind of more or less a coaching spot for me to help that person and just being a positive, role model for them, encouraging them, hey, we're going to get the next one. And then to finally see them get that full-time job. I mean, it was awesome to see. It's like your own, like one of your own kids. So yeah.
Wow. Love that. Okay, so we're going to take a little halftime break to thank our sponsors. But when we do come back, I wanted to ask you a question about, your why you love Parks and Rec and why you have chosen to dedicate your life to it. And then also want to talk more about the state associations and how that's benefited you and your presidency there. But before we do that, we want to thank Outdoor Link and the National Academy of Athletics. They've been two of our earliest sponsors. Outdoor Link helps you become a smart city. And so I think that's how we got connected, through Dave Ramirez, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And so if you have a smart home that can control your bathroom, not your bathroom door locks, hopefully you don't have bathroom door locks in your house, but your air conditioning or lights or a garage door, well, you can do the same type of functionality with your entire city's infrastructure, controlling anything that is hooked up to electricity. So you can control your bathroom door locks, your splash pads, your baseball field lights or parking lot lights, and it's all through one simple app. And it really is a great app. I've used it before in a former life when I was working with Dave and his team. And then also the National Academy of Athletics is a company that is kind of a franchise model, and that's owned by Aaron Lux, and he's been in youth sports and rec sports for over 40 years and has come up with a great model for his franchisee owners to partner with Parks and Rec departments to run the programs that they're not really staffed to run. So if you have a lot of push from your community to do like a flag football league or lacrosse or volleyball, and you're not really staffed up for that, you can kind of just cherry pick the ones you want them to run, and you kind of partner with them. They'll even run like after school care and summer camp as well. And so big shout out to both of those. Carla, why don't you go ahead and run the Outdoor Link and National Academy of Athletics promo. When we come back, we'll finish up our conversation with Jerome.
In today's parks and recreation industry, communication, safety, and efficiency go hand in hand. That's where Outdoor Link comes in, delivering smart technology that empowers city departments and community planners to do more, smarter. Outdoor Link's platform connects and automates everything that keeps your parks running smoothly. From lighting and locks to signage, water features, Wi-Fi, and digital advertising. Control and schedule park lights for safety and energy savings. Remotely manage facility access. coordinate fountains and splash pads, provide public connectivity, all from one simple, unified platform, giving you real-time control, data, and cost efficiency. For parks and recreation agencies, that means safer spaces, smarter resource use, faster responses, and stronger community engagement. And behind every great park story is great infrastructure. That's why Outdoor Link proudly supports DPRS Media Company, helping the Daily Parks and Rec Show amplify the voices of professionals shaping our communities every day. Outdoor Link, smart, connected solutions for parks, recreation, and beyond.
They say it's just rec. Just rec, where kids learn to try again. Just rec, where confidence begins. Where teamwork, effort, and fun matter more than trophies. It's not about perfection. It's about participation. It's not just rec. It's where kids learn to love the game and themselves. It's just rec until they learn teamwork for life. It's just rec, but it's everything to them. It's more than rec. It's a movement. It's just rec until you realize it's shaping the next generation. Together, we're not just running programs, we're building a culture of confidence, connection, and community. Join us.
All right, maybe on the back of that, we can give a little short testimony to Outdoor Link. When did you start using their stuff?
We started using it a couple of years ago. We met Dave down in, I believe it was Atlanta. Yeah, in Atlanta at the National Park and Rec Conference. And we actually had some outdoor lights, some field lights that our control system was not working. And I think it was probably like $28,000 to replace pretty much the guts on the whole thing. So we saw Dave's presentation and got his information. Then they were giving away one of the controllers for free. And one of my colleagues who's in a different city in Minnesota actually won it. He won the drawing for it. So it was funny because the whole system, was a box and had all these electrical cords coming out of it. And I told my colleague, I'm like, you're not going to be able to put that on the plane. You're going to have to send that back. That thing looks like a bomb, So you ended up having to FedEx it back. But we got to meet Dave and Joe and those guys. And so, yeah, we started, talking and going through stuff. And then Dave wanted to get involved with our state association. So Dave and Joe came up last year. I went to our state park and rec conference and that. So yeah, we've been kind of conversing, and I've been promoting his product to a bunch of people in Minnesota, and some of my other colleagues have started to purchase it. And so, yeah, so we've been good friends now for the last couple of years. And like I said, just trying to grow his product throughout the country. So.
Yeah, it really is a neat product. And has it helped on y'all's efficiency of, not having to create keys and padlocks and disconnects and all that stuff? Now it's all
yeah. We went back to a lock box on a shed where they had to have a combination to open it up to get the key to turn the light switches on and everything else. And now we're back to the umpires, and the teams don't have to worry about any of that. It's all programmed by computer. So.
Oh, nice. Okay, so let's dig a little into your why. So what has been like a driving force behind you staying in this industry for so long and continuing to dedicate your life to it?
Yeah, well, when I was younger, like I said, I would tell people, I'm like, it's one of the greatest jobs. I get paid to play with kids and do programs and do everything else. As you move up the ladder, yeah, it gets a little bit tougher because you're dealing with a lot of people that are complaining about a lot of different things, and it comes from all different angles nowadays. but the why is my why right now is to, like, I'm in the design factor. I build new parks, I build new playgrounds, I build new facilities, and to see the joy and the smiles and that on the people's faces of using all the different things that we provide is awesome. The other why is that we play such a crucial role in people's lives. I mean, I guess my greatest example is during COVID, when the whole COVID thing happened. I felt like we went back to the 1990s, because when
Yeah.
people couldn't go inside buildings and couldn't do this and do that, the parks were full of people. I mean, we here in Blaine, what we did was we went back to working from home, or we went to working from home during COVID. But what we ended up doing is we would go out and we would drive through. We have 66 parks in Blaine. So three of us divvied up 66 parks and drove through, a third of the parks each day, kind of took notes as to what was going on. And to see all the people out utilizing the parks like the old days, it was awesome. So that's kind of, I mean, and it has continued. I mean, it's like we take older stuff, we take it out, we replace it with new stuff. I mean, I think back to being a kid, and a slide was just a metal slide, and basically, you had wooden landscaping beams that you kind of climbed up to be on a playground, and a big old merry-go-round that you used to hang on like Superman and go around. But you look at all the playground equipment now that's offered throughout the different companies and that. I mean, what cool stuff for kids to do now. Zip lines and climbing apparatuses, slides way up in the air, and all the different cool things they have, splash pads. And I mean, we never had any of that when we were kids. We just did what we did and had fun with it. But all the different opportunities that the kids and families have now to utilize the parks, the shelters, the size of the shelters, different. We're seeing it with rentals. We just built a couple new shelters, redid those a few years ago, and they're nonstop. I mean, basically from May all the way through August, it's like every weekend, completely booked. Nobody wants to have a party in their house anymore. They all want to get together and go outside and do whatever. So it's great. It's cool to see that the investments we have made in our city and in our assets have turned around and been great things for the community and for the people, and that it's getting used. I mean, it's not like we just build it and nobody uses it, that it's actually being used, and that they really value it. So that's the why. The why is to know that we're making a difference, and what we do makes a difference. And when, most of the time nowadays, you don't hear a lot of compliments. You only hear something went wrong. Most people don't compliment you on things. So I tell, we talk about it all the time with the staff. Hey, if we can get 1 or 2 wins a day, whether, it means somebody called and said, hey, I had a great time at this program, or somebody does whatever, it doesn't make a difference, but you get a couple wins a day. That's what it's about. And knowing that there's probably more people out there that appreciate what we do than there is that call and complain. So,
one of the things we do with our network is we have a weekly show for the young professionals, and I'm still shocked that this industry typically is the largest employer of first-time employees through like lifeguards or cutting the grass during the summer or working a concession stand. And yet when you ask your average college kid, they have no idea that you could have a career in parks and recreation. So help me pitch the industry. If you're standing in front of a group of college kids that are undecided about what they want to do with their careers, what testimony would you give to the college kids as to why they might want to choose this as their career path?
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head there. It is, because I've gone into high schools and that, and talked to different high school kids about jobs in government and jobs in park and rec. And I mean, they look at you like you're crazy. Like, no, I've never heard of that before. No, I want to do this. I want to be in business. I want to be a police officer. I want to be, but no one ever thinks about it. It's always like a second or third option when other things fail. But no, I mean, it is a great profession. I mean, to not only the grat or the satisfaction of what you get to do in the job, but the job comes with pensions, it comes with days off, a lot of different things that people don't understand. And but like I said, the amount of people that we touch and what we do, a lot of people think, oh, be a teacher or do whatever. But it's funny because I have this conversation every spring with all of our summer staff. And there's probably 75 high school and college kids that work for us every summer. And I have this same exact speech to them is that, hey, our job is to make you a better candidate for whatever job you want to do, after you get out of here. We know that this is a starting point, but we want to make you the best so that when you move on in whatever field you decide to go into, you're going to beat that person out on an interview. But on that same note, this is a profession. You can start part-time here and you can actually make it a profession and can work full-time for the rest of your life in Park and Rec. So we haven't had a ton of those. We have had, probably in my time of being here, my 19 years, we probably had a half a dozen that have worked for us that are now still working for us, either as firefighters, police officers, public works, or other professions. So we have, kept that train going. But yes, I don't know why it's such a hurdle for people to want to go into this profession. I don't know if they don't take it seriously enough or what, but it actually is. And as we get the kids that come in and do mentorships and everything else, they realize how cool of a job it is. The problem is that most of the ones that come in have already got into the field, went to school for it. It's our job to try to get these kids that are coming out of high school to get them to go into this field. Because I know that even here in Minnesota, the programs at some of the colleges that we have that have Park and Rec, as an actual major, the enrollment has been declining. So.
Now let's shift gears and talk a little bit about your state associations, and I'd like you to maybe give a reason why, from two angles. Why would a professional want to join a state association, and what do they get out of it? And then from a department head, why do you want to try to join as a department, and what benefit has it been to your staff?
Yep. No, great question. So when I was younger, and I was in St. Paul, money was tight. So to be a part of an association, you do have to pay some dues. My city didn't pay for my staff us as staff to be involved. I had to pay on my own. I had talked to some of my colleagues about, is it worth it? And they're like, yeah, you really should. So I did. I paid for a couple of years on my own. The biggest thing with being part of an association is you are part of a bigger group and you get a chance to network. And that's probably the biggest thing. In our state association here in Minnesota, we have all types of different network groups. We have aquatics, we have athletics, we have a senior group, we have basically therapeutic recreation, we have a leadership group. We have all these different groups within the group. So there's opportunities. There's a programming group. There's opportunities for you to get together on Zoom or in person with other professionals in the state that are doing kind of the same exact work that you're doing. It's a great thing we always talk about in Park and Rec, that we don't have to recreate the wheel, and we can steal ideas from anybody else. And we don't get heard about that. We're not like, well, hey, this person over here in this city stole my idea, now they're running in their city. Who cares? So what? You want more people doing things. If it's working in one place, let them go try it somewhere else and let it work. So we're really good about working together on networking and bouncing ideas off of people. In fact, one of the greatest ones we had, and we don't do it often anymore, but we used to, when I talked about earlier about like our summer music in the parks. So everybody's looking for music, vendors and that, people to play at your cities and counties throughout the summer. We actually had open auditions. So we would book a day where all these different musicians could come in and play for like 3 minutes, play a song, and everybody that wanted to book different musicians and that could listen to them and then grab like their card. And so it was awesome because it was free advertisement for the musicians to come in and show all the professionals, hey, yeah, you're going to want me to come play in your city this summer. But then it was a chance for us to hear everything. Right now everybody sends an email or sends a copy of a DVD or a copy of their music and says, here, listen to my songs and see if you want to book us. But we actually got to hear people live. So there's so many different things that we do as a group, that we work together. I mean, there's emails fired off within the groups. Hey, I'm thinking about doing this, or what would you do on this? So it's like I said, it's that kind of back to that mentor and mentee too, that people are not afraid to ask questions and not afraid to reach out and see what others are doing to try to help each other out. And like I said, COVID was a terrible thing, but one of the best things about it was because everybody was on Zoom, we took people from the northern part of the state that border Canada all the way to the southern part of the state that border Iowa, and all the, to the west that border North and South Dakota, to the east that borders Wisconsin, and anybody and everybody in Minnesota was able to communicate and be on like we are right now, face to face, and hear the same message, ask questions. So it really has helped. And I, being the president, not just because I was the president, but I would say get involved. Even students, we allow students to get involved in our membership. They pay like $25 for the year to be involved, and it opens doors. I mean, it opens doors with future jobs and meeting people and everything else. So it's done nothing but help my career. So
Yeah, so let's talk about that, getting involved, volunteering to work with your state association. I'd like you to speak a little bit about your presidency and what that was like for those couple of years, and then also what are the volunteering opportunities that state associations usually offer?
yeah. Well, on the volunteering, basically, you can volunteer for anything, but you can volunteer for the conference. You can volunteer for. We have all kinds of different, like we're doing right now, playground certifications. So we have a lot of professionals that need to get certified in playground safety and that. So there's all types of opportunities to volunteer. Volunteer for anything and everything that we have as an event. We just did a USSSA Softball Hall of Fame banquet. I MC that every other year. So we, for our Hall of Fame for softball, we induct male players, female players, umpires, managers, sponsors, all that kind of stuff. So there's all types of opportunities to volunteer. We're always looking for people to help out with anything. So anybody that's interested in volunteering for anybody's association or any state thing, all you have to do is reach out to your executive director, or whoever's in charge of your state, and just say, hey, I would like to volunteer and like to get more involved. I mean, that's the main thing. Just, like I said, lay it out there that you're interested in getting involved. And once you open that door will be open, and you'll have all kinds of opportunities to do anything. Being the president, it's, we do it on a ballot. So it's ironic. Nobody wanted to be the president the year that I threw my name in the hat. So our presidency is a 3-year deal. The first year you're president-elect, and then there's a president and then an outgoing president. So the first year you're working with the other two presidents, the past president and the current president, working together on a lot of different things and the different issues and that you're trying to accomplish. So my first years, I was getting my feet wet and seeing what everything was about. Being the Recreation Sports Commission chair, I was already on the board for a couple of years before that, because I am considered to be a board member with that. So I had some background as being on the board and everything. For a long time, the board, being on the board was like, oh man, it's the scariest thing around. I don't want to do that. I don't want to get involved. So that was kind of my biggest push, was to get people involved and to get out of their shell and basically want to get involved. The year of my presidency, my whole philosophy and my whole mantra for the whole year was family. We're family. We're all family. You know, you have your family at home, you have your family at your work, but we're all family. We're all a family of Park and Rec within the state. We all work together. We're all family members together. So I think that brought us a little bit closer, got a little bit tighter. I challenged all of the. I think we had 500 and some delegates at our state conference. I challenged them all to go and meet 4 new people they'd never talked to before. So try to get people, like I said, out of their comfort zone, go meet new people. I mean, every year I go, now I see people and I'm like, oh, I've never met you before. And I just come up and talk to them, it's going back to your young professionals. You're a first time person here at a conference and you've never met half the people here. You're going to be a little timid. And so, the people that have been around need to go and introduce themselves and make that person feel comfortable. So, we actually worked on my year and my outgoing year. We did an assessment kind of everything on our board, our bylaws, our staffing, the whole 9 yards. So we kind of went through we had a consultant come in and do an evaluation of us. And so we kind of went through that whole process. It was a 3-year process. So I was involved with the first 2 years before I was out, but yeah, no, we're in a good position now. And like I said, it hadn't been looked at in a long time. And our state association started back in the 1930s. So it had been going for a long time. So yeah, we have a really strong, like I said, state association, and I know it's going to continue on and keep growing. So.
Yeah. Okay. So kind of as we come to the end of the show, we've got a little tradition that our previous guests have left you a question. And I have 2 questions for you. One's kind of a serious question. The other one's more of a fun question. But this one comes from Sydney Paradis from Schertz, Texas. And her question for you is, how do you see technology as changing or will change how you run your Parks and Rec department?
Yeah, so technology has changed a lot for us. I mean, we used to be a lot of people would register by walking in the front door and registering by doing that. Everything now, the majority of it is online, and we push a lot of people to create their own accounts and register online. We'll do a lot of it over the phone and help them out with that as well. But no, technology has made it a lot simpler for a lot of people. The one thing that's tough with technology, and I don't know if people are experiencing in other places, is that a lot of people are trying to do it on their phone, and their phone and being on a laptop or on a computer or tablet or whatever is a lot different. They don't see things exactly the same. So we've had some issues with that. We use Civic Rec for a lot of our registration in that. But the majority, I'd say 90% of everything we do nowadays is online. Our senior population is getting better at that. We're actually doing more classes in that for them of how to actually do registration, how to even look at our brochures and look at our newsletters, because we have a monthly senior newsletter in that, how to see that online without actually having to get a paper copy and stuff like that. So yes, we are moving more and more into the technology world and eliminating some of the hard copy and the face-to-face registrations with people. So like I said, when I first got here 19 years ago, I would say it was probably about a 60-40. 60% people would walk in the door, 40% would do it online, and now it's, like I said, it's about 97% online right now. So
nice. Okay, so the next question comes from Jonathan Skinner out in Lake Elsinore, California. He says, what was your favorite car as a kid, and has it changed?
My favorite car as a kid. A Camaro was probably my favorite car back then. I see some of the old Camaros now, and it's pretty cool to see those. I never had one. I drove a Firebird, but I never drove a Camaro. So I saw those. I was a big Chevy guy. So But yeah, that was the one car I saw. Like, oh man, it'd be awesome to have one of those one of these days. So.
Still that way, or has it changed?
Yeah, no, I still like seeing those. They're cool to see. So.
Okay. So what question would you like to leave from our next guest?
For the next guest, oh, that's a great question. I would say the question I have for the next person is where do they see themselves in the next 5 years, and what impact have they left in their career so far on where they've worked.
I'm curious, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Retired on a fishing boat or something?
Yeah, I would love to be retired. I'm not sure if I will stay in Minnesota or try to go to someplace a little bit warmer. I would love to be somewhere where I can go fishing or golfing. Yes, either or. But yeah, definitely. I don't mind the cold anymore up here. It's just I get sick of the snow. I'm really sick of the snow and sick of driving it and shoveling it and stuff like that. But yeah, within 5 years, I would definitely like to be retired and enjoy some more time doing some more things that I like to do. And yeah. So.
Well, if you ever find yourself in New Orleans, definitely look me up. I'll show you around. We got tons of fishing and food and festivals, more than you could ever attend. I'd love to host you.
Yeah, I've never been to New Orleans, so that's one thing I'll have to definitely get down to see you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Jerome, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing with us your story and a lot of the tricks of the trade here. Really appreciate all the hard work that you're doing for your community. It does not go unnoticed. And thank you so much for dedicating your life to this industry.
Yeah, thank you, Craig, for having me, and thank you for promoting our profession at Park and Rec. You're doing a wonderful job, and I'm glad to see you're well over 500 episodes, and I think you're going to continue to grow this more and more. And like I said, thank you for the exposure of everything that we do every day.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely keep it going.
Thank you.
Thank you again for coming on the show. Have a great rest of your week.
You too.
All right, take care. All right, so that was another great show, leadership series here on the Daily Parks and Rec Show. This show is 12 noon Eastern time. We do have our full 1:30 time slot booked out, and now I'm starting to book that 3 p.m. time slot. So now you can start looking for a 3 p.m. and 3 p.m. Eastern time, but that's going to be a noon show for our people out in California. And actually, the next 3 shows are all run by show hosts that live in California. So I know they like having something a little bit later so that they can maybe watch some of our programming on their lunch break. All right, so hang tight. We have another show coming up with Thomas White. It's a once-a-month show called Safe Spaces, where we talk about mental health, neurodivergence, and just how Parks and Rec plays a vital role in creating mental health, whether it's walking in the park or, making friends through the programming, and not just making friends, as a young kid, but also, the relationships that they build in senior centers and stuff, and how Parks and Rec just plays an important role in creating a thriving, healthy community. So anyway, that's all I have for y'all today. Again, this is Craig LeBlanc signing off, the doorman with the Daily Parks and Rec Show. We'll see y'all here in a bit. Thanks a lot, guys. Love y'all. Bye.
In the parks and recreation industry, attention is limited, but influence is everything. Every day, thousands of parks and recreation professionals make critical decisions. Decisions on infrastructure, programs, technology, and vendors. The question is your brand part of that conversation? DPRS Media Network was built to answer that question. We are a dedicated media ecosystem focused exclusively on the parks and recreation industry in the United States. Through a network of daily and weekly shows, we inform, connect, and influence this audience. Our distribution spans multiple platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, plus email campaigns, newsletters, podcasts, and live event coverage. This is not a single channel strategy. It is a multi-platform media engine. Today, our network reaches over 214,000 connections, including 51,000 on LinkedIn, 64,000 on Facebook, nearly 40,000 email subscribers, and thousands more across podcast and social platforms. While some audiences overlap, our true value is not just reach, it is relevance. We speak directly to parks and recreation directors, program managers, and industry leaders, an audience that is highly targeted and actively engaged. Through DPRS Media Network, your brand integrates seamlessly into this ecosystem. Through sponsored show segments, targeted advertisement placements, podcast features, and host-read promotions, even custom branded content. Not as interruptions, but as part of the conversation. And we don't just operate online. We attend over 15 major parks and recreation conventions each year, reaching more than 24,000 professionals in person. Through live shows, interviews, and on-site media coverage, we position our partners at the center of the industry. Every piece of content we produce is amplified across our entire network. Multiple shows, multiple hosts, multiple platforms. Your message doesn't appear once, it multiplies. This is more than advertising. It is strategic positioning within a trusted media network built specifically for the parks and recreation industry. If your goal is to reach decision makers, build credibility, and stay top of mind, then it's time to partner with DPRS Media Network. Apply for partnership or sponsorship today. Let's position your brand where the industry is already paying attention.
Are you a vendor, brand, or service provider ready to connect with the heartbeat of local communities? At DPRS Media Co., we tell the stories shaping parks and recreation across America. Through podcasts, live streams, videos, and newsletters, we reach frontline leaders, city directors, and decision makers every single week. From youth sports and facilities to programming and policy, our audience is your audience. Sponsoring or partnering with DPRS Media Co. puts your brand in front of the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. Launching a new product, growing your presence in public spaces, targeting cities, counties, or departments, DPRS is your trusted media partner. Whether you're in software, turf, aquatics, robotics, smart cities, or special events, partnering with DPRS puts your brand in the story. With commercials, interviews, social campaigns, newsletters, and live shows, we're your media team. Partner with us and grow your impact in the $200 billion parks and rec industry. DPRS Media Co. Stories that move parks and rec forward. Your audience is here. Let's meet them.